For a long time, I didn't think much about where attention was coming from. If people were seeing what I built, that was enough. If ads worked, great. If a platform sent traffic, even better. Attention felt like attention. It all blended together. And as long as it was coming in, the business felt like it was moving. But after a while, something started bothering me. The moment traffic slowed down, everything slowed down with it. Revenue dipped. Conversations dropped. Momentum disappeared almost immediately. And I started realizing how fragile that felt. Because nothing inside the system had actually changed. The product was the same. The offer was the same. But the visibility disappeared and everything followed it. That's when I started paying attention to something I had been overlooking. I wasn't really controlling attention. I was borrowing it. And there's a big difference between those two. Rented attention disappears the moment you stop paying for it, or the platform stops showing you. At first, that didn't feel like a problem, because rented attention is fast. You can turn it on quickly. You can scale it. You can get results almost immediately if it's working. And in the early stages, that speed is valuable. You need movement. You need feedback. You need to know if what you're building actually works. So renting attention makes sense. But over time, I started noticing the cost wasn't just financial. It was structural. Every time I needed attention, I had to go back out and get it again. Run something, post something, trigger something. And if I didn't, things went quiet. That constant dependency started to feel like a ceiling. Because no matter how good the system was, it couldn't move without external input. That's when I started looking at businesses that felt different. They didn't seem to panic when traffic dipped. They didn't rely on constant output to stay visible. They had something else. They owned attention. People were already listening, already paying attention, already connected to what they were building. And when they introduced something new, it didn't feel like starting from zero. It felt like continuing a conversation. That difference is hard to overstate. Because starting from zero every time is exhausting. You have to earn attention again and again. Convince people again and again. Push for visibility every single time. But when attention is owned, the dynamic changes. The connection already exists. The trust already exists. The audience is already there. Owning attention means you don't have to fight for visibility every time you want to grow. That realization shifted how I thought about growth entirely. Before that, growth felt like something you triggered. You run ads. You push content. You generate spikes of attention. But those spikes fade. And then you have to do it again. Owning attention works differently. Instead of spikes, it builds continuity. The relationship doesn't reset. It carries forward. And that carry-forward effect compounds over time. The more people paying attention, the easier it becomes to introduce something new. The easier it becomes to generate momentum, and the less dependent the business becomes on external systems. I also started noticing how different the stress levels were. When attention is rented, there's always pressure. Pressure to keep things running. Pressure to maintain visibility. Pressure to not let things drop. But when attention is owned, there's more stability. You can pause without everything collapsing. You can think without losing momentum. You can build without constantly pushing. That space changes how decisions are made. You're not reacting as much. You're shaping things more intentionally. That's when I realized attention itself is an asset. Not just a byproduct of marketing, but something you can actually build and own. An audience. A list. A group of people who have chosen to pay attention to what you're doing. And once that exists, Everything else becomes easier. Launching something new, testing ideas, getting feedback, even recovering from mistakes. Because you're not starting from silence anymore. You're starting from connection. Another thing that became clear is that rented attention doesn't compound the same way. You can spend more and get more results, but the moment you stop, the system resets. There's no carryover, no accumulation, but owned attention builds on itself. Each piece of content, each interaction, each moment of value, it all stacks. Over time, that stack becomes one of the most valuable parts of the business. Because now, you're not just running campaigns. You're building a relationship. And relationships don't reset the way campaigns do. Rented attention gives you speed. Owned attention gives you leverage. Both have a place. I'm not saying one replaces the other completely, but if everything is rented, the system stays dependent. If some of it is owned, the system starts becoming stable. And that stability is what allows real growth. Looking back, the shift wasn't immediate. It didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, spending more time building connection instead of just visibility. Thinking about how to keep attention, not just attract it, creating ways for people to stay connected instead of just passing through. And over time, that changed everything. Because now the business wasn't relying entirely on outside systems to move. It had something internal, something it could reach directly, something it could build on. And that's when the whole dynamic shifts. You stop chasing attention and start building something that keeps it. And once that happens, income stops feeling like something you have to constantly restart. It starts feeling like something you can build on because the attention is already there. And that changes what the business is capable of becoming.